Hello, Hope Covenant Church. My name is Kris Vanderbusch. I attended Hope back in the early 2000s while I went to UND. My wife Vanessa and I, we serve with Power to Change in Brisbane, Australia, which is part of the International Crew Network. We have 3 children and a little one that is due in December. This year has been quite unprecedented. With the lockdowns that we had in Australia that were quite strict back in March, we had to stop all of our in-person gatherings, conferences, and events until basically July. And so we always were wanting to do more in the digital space, and this year we definitely were forced to go into these new areas, and we're glad that we have, but it's been a big lesson in just upskilling and figuring out how do we go about this and just the reality of what is this year. My wife Vanessa and I are also the National Summer Project coordinators here in Australia, so we run the summer missions that take place over November to February. So these missions are 2 weeks long with heaps of evangelism and Christian community, but also really focusing on what does it mean to walk with Jesus for a lifetime. And so these events have quite a few restrictions this year with COVID going on, and so we're been working hard to navigate that to make sure we follow the local guidelines and state guidelines. And so things are trending positive, that it looks like we'll be able to have our in-person missions for every state except for Victoria. Melbourne's been pretty hard locked down the last 2 months, and so they're going to be totally online this year. So we really appreciate it if you'd be praying for these events so that we could still be able to meet, that the gospel would go out strongly, and that the students would catch the vision of how they can walk with Jesus and be disciple makers for the rest of their lives. So thank you so much for being a part of bringing the gospel down under. There's so many nationalities here that it goes around the world for when the gospel moves. And so thank you again for being a part of what God is doing in Australia.